Tamir Rice's mother fights to keep a former officer who fatally shot her son from getting his job back. So if you remember Tamir Rice back in 2014, 12-year-old boy who was shot on the spot within seconds by a Cleveland police officer. He had a toy gun, but the police officer, as soon as he showed up on the scene, shot him dead. Well, that 12 years old, by the way. Well, that police officer is now trying to get a job in another department. So the mother of Tamir Rice is asking the Ohio Supreme Court to block the former officer's attempt to get his job back. Rice was shot and killed in November 2014 outside the Cudell Recreation Center by then police officer Timothy Lohman after police received a call about someone pointing a gun at people. The caller had told the dispatcher that the gun looked fake, but the information was never relayed to Lohman or his partner. Video footage of the fatal encounter showed Lohman, who is white, fired at Rice within seconds of getting out of his squad car. Rice died the following morning at Cleveland Hospital. A Cuyahoga County grand jury declined to bring criminal charges against Lohman, who had been with the Cleveland Police Department for less than a year at the time of the shooting. He was fired by the department in May 2017, but not for killing Rice. The police department said it let Lohman go because he had lied on his job application. So this, I mean, he's not the first officer, Jen, after killing a black man, in this case, a 12-year-old, to get a job in another police department. But it's pretty heinous. And I would say what has changed from 2014, where that cop immediately on the spot shot him, no efforts at de-escalation, and what just happened with Andrew Brown in North Carolina, when these police officers showed up as if they were, playing Call of Duty on the back of a truck. And he was in his car and he backed away. He did not drive into officers. He was trying to drive away. And it all happened within seconds. They started shooting him several times and shot him in the back of the neck and killed him. What has changed? But it's pretty egregious that this mother, 7 years later, is still having to fight to get her son's killer to not be employed elsewhere.
It's unbelievable. Well, I always backtrack when I say something like that. I want it to be unbelievable. It is completely believable that this is happening. Why? We always say this too. In any other job, this would not happen. In any other job, if you accidentally murder a child, you're done for. You're in jail forever, or you should be. And cops seem to be able to act and do whatever, and not just seem to. They are qualified immunity. They're allowed to get away with whatever. They're allowed to get away with everything. And I truly believe that the only reason that Derek Chauvin was convicted on all 3 counts, none of the counts didn't go far enough, but the only reason he was convicted was for political reasons. So that Nancy Pelosi could stand up there and condescendingly pat George Floyd's daughter's head and go, and then the Democrats could go about their lives and just, as you titled the live stream yesterday or 2 days ago, use George Floyd's family as props, and then the Democrats could go about their business having done nothing. Because we have these cases. Tamir Rice's mother now having to make a case she should never have to make, that the officer that murdered her child, I know often young Black children, especially boys, are not looked at as children, but they're children. So that the officer who murdered her child shouldn't work in this field or any field. He should be in jail, but she's pushing for him to not work in this. So what is to be done? Again, this is about actually taking action, not just using words, not just putting out PR pieces, not just standing on a stage and using Black people as props. The Democrats aren't doing enough. They're supposed to be the party of the people. They're supposed to be the party of Black Lives Matter. What the Democrats are doing is the same thing as like a SunTrust bank or whatever, putting Black Lives Matter in their window. That's all they're doing. And so, yes, we aren't really talking about the Democrats in this specific article, but that's what it comes down to. That is part of the reason why articles like this have to be written, is because the Democrats are doing nothing. We already know that the Republicans are going to do nothing. We already know that the Republicans don't care about this. We already know that the Republicans are Blue Lives Matter fans. The Democrats are supposed to be the ones who are making sure that Tamir Rice's murderer is not in this job, is not on the streets, but he is. And here we are. And here's this mother having this pain over and over and over again, and having to fight this fight over and over and over again. And you know what? At all of these Black Lives Matter events that we show up at, that Status Coup covers, you know what happens? These mothers, these families, they come together for each other. George Floyd's family will come together for Andrew Brown's family, or Daunte Wright's family. Eric Garner's family will come together for another family, and they end up having to kind of go from state to state, showing solidarity with one another. And then there are families that are lesser known. For whatever reason, their stories didn't take off in the media. And so it ends up being like Marvin Scott III's family is definitely getting support from their community and other families that have had their family members murdered at the hands of police, but they don't get the huge press gaggles. They don't get the huge media stories and media attention. And they've said, they're daily fighting for this. They're daily struggling. And Tamir Rice's mother, 7 years later, it goes on and on and on. And then there are more deaths. Breonna Taylor's family doesn't have justice.
And by the way, Biden ran on changing the criminal justice system and, atoning for the sins of the crime bill and police reform. And as Jen and I covered the other day, the George Floyd Police Justice and Police Act, they're actively watering down now for fear of being billed as anti-police for the midterms. So they are basically moving ahead without qualified immunity, without ending qualified immunity, which would be the biggest thing to deter this endless executions. If police officers actually could face civil penalties for killing Black men, just like doctors can and other lines of work if they kill someone. They are, as we covered the other day, making it even more difficult there's various things that they're doing that are making it more difficult to go after police in any manner. And they're tinkering around the edges like they always do. And at a certain point, we kind of saw it, like some Black leaders came out when Biden was running and saying, what are you going to do for us? At a certain point, I'm not Black, but like at a certain point, you're going to just get the numbers you got for Hillary Clinton with less Black people coming out and you losing very narrowly because you're not doing anything for Black people. So it's terrible. It's terrible. And then you have what's going on with Ronald Greene, who there was protests yesterday, press conference. Let's show Ronald Greene's lawyer, Lee Merritt, speaking.
Ronald Greene was killed May 10th of 2019. It has been 747 days since Ronald Greene's murder. And the question that we have as representatives of Ronald Greene's family is his murder illegal in the state of Louisiana? If evidence of someone being beat, tased, tortured while handcuffed, to be mocked, where officers gather around and not only beat and abuse but conspire to cover it up, when that comes out in the open, what are the consequences in a state like Louisiana? And so we spoke with prosecutors this morning for Union Parish, who were the original prosecuting authority. Today, the Union Parish prosecutor has the authority to present this case to a grand jury on criminal state charges and seek indictments for the officers. To date, 747 days later, he has not done that. When we met with his office this morning, they encouraged us that they were just getting access to all of the evidence in the last 3 weeks, and that they are as quickly as possible going over the evidence so that they can present it to a state grand jury. And they reassured us that the Union Parish authorities would seek criminal accountability for these officers in due time. Time is well due. We are over time. We are 2 years later. And so their answers were frustrating for this family. It's frustrating to be told to wait just a little while longer as they gather evidence, as they review the facts, as they check with the authorities. In the state of Louisiana, like most states in the United States, if there exists probable cause that a crime existed, the prosecuting authorities, the sheriffs, the state police have not only the authority but the responsibility to take immediate and direct actions to ensure that criminals are brought to justice. Corey York, Dakota DeMoss, James Clary are criminals. They are on tape committing criminal acts. We know that the conspiracy extends beyond those 3 men, but those 3 men, at the very least, we are demanding their immediate arrest. We are not here for sympathy. We are not here for publicity. We are not here for conciliatory messages. We want action today.
What do you have to do in America to be arrested on the spot if you're a police officer? Literally lynch the person? I mean, I hate to be graphic, but what you saw with Ronald Greene was a de facto lynching. And I mean, the media, Jen, as you know, through our troubles with corporate outlets, they're very hesitant to call anything a cover-up. But they're even kind of calling this a cover-up. Yet it's kind of just like, oh, yeah, we're investigating. Well, what about the fact that you've known about it for 2 years? What about the fact that one of the top officers on the ground there withheld his body cam for 2 years? The fact that the Democratic governor knew about this and now suddenly is for an investigation. Where's the questioning? Well, how many other Ronald Greene situations are there? Maybe we need to have a federal Department of Justice investigation looking into all police departments to see what's the percentage of body cam footage of incidents like this that have never been released. I'm not trying to compare, but why is it not the same response that you got with George Floyd? Because it's, to me, equally as egregious. They lied that he got in a car accident. There's lie after lie after lie after lie, yet no arrests. And I don't really see I don't really see that much from Democratic Party politicians. I don't even why is the default? Oh yeah, we need to have an investigation. What is there to investigate? It's right on camera for you.